Hello. Hey.
Hi.
Mark! Oh, whoa!
Good to be back in America.
Whoa, he's here.
You want me to sing Born in the... Okay.
No, I don't.
So Marcus is back. Quick, brief update. How was Kenya?
Absolutely great. In some ways, no offense to any other trip we've ever taken, but in some ways, at least for me, this felt like one of the best because we could be most productive.
Yeah.
The interaction and exchanges with the students is always fabulous. But as far as our participating more with the kids, this might be the one where we've done the most. And so that, for me, that was just so fulfilling.
Nice.
So teaching kids to do things.
Yeah. And that partially kind of makes sense because they're starting to recognize, remember, especially like you and Matt and return people.
Yes.
R.I.P.
So,
Matt. How is Matt?
Yeah.
Is he good?
He's good. He's going to come join us for VBS.
He asked me today, he's like, hey, y'all need anything tonight, like security? And I said, yeah, for sure, mainly just because I miss your face is what I thought.
Yeah.
Wait,
I
is
was
he
like,
back?
Yeah. He
No
came
way.
back with him.
He
Yeah.
came back
Oh,
with
no.
us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
With our
Hey,
30...
talk in the mic, please.
Heck
with
yeah.
our 38
Thank you.
hours of continuous travel.
Mm-hmm.
We start the timer when we pull out of the gate.
Yeah.
So when we stopped at Lexington Bluegrass Airport,
Oh, my
38 or 39 hours, I forget. Corbin sent me a picture. He timed it for us.
No.
I was tracking your last few minutes. The moment you were landing in Detroit, I was like, I bet that feels good for them because I'm just sitting here like doing like my normal routine and like, oh, they're almost here, and I bet they're like,
had Chick-fil-A and everything.
where are we?
Yeah.
Are we close? Yeah. So anyway, glad
So
they're back.
fasting this
Most of
past
them anyway.
week, we were talking about our practicing the way of Jesus, Life in Christ series. We talked. So I'll start since I was the, I guess, quote unquote expert of the week.
Do it, bro.
But I think the biggest thing that stood out to me in the fasting specifically was not necessarily the content, but I was telling the story how I fasted this past week and the Lord was like, hey, why don't you go 48 hours instead of your normal 24 hours? And it was brutal. I will say.
It'd be tough.
It was definitely brutal, and yet it was so worth it. And I think that we preach the message of surrender to God. And like we've talked about on this podcast so many times, what we say is easy. It's actually doing it. But I think it is very easy to preach the good news of the gospel. Living into it and seeing the fruit of it, I think, is a lot harder. And this week for me, it was like, because of that, it was just such an easy practice to do. Like specifically, like you were preaching last week, Micah, like just go rest, like experience what it's like, or go talk to somebody about your faith experience. And so I think I just like this series because of how practical it is. And the sermon just became off the page, off the writing for me. And that was the cool. And it was like not even explainable things.
For the 48 hours, what did you fast? Total food?
Just all food.
Just water
Not a
only?
single-
Or
water
coffee?
only. Water and coffee. So I'd have one cup in the morning and then water for...
And with no food, 1 cup just about does it for the
Oh,
day.
yeah.
Because you're just like, you
It's
drink
pretty
any more than
terrible.
that, and you're like, all right. I'm
48 hours, no food, though. That's
Oh, yeah.
tough.
And that was the other thing, too, because I think in my fasting practice, I don't fast regularly. I sometimes would fast regularly. Like in 2022, I fasted the first Thursday of every month. That was a regular. And then ever since then, it's just been sporadic. But I feel like in a way I got comfortable with the 24 hours, almost like anybody can fast one meal. I think we all almost fast a meal every single day, just doing it. And so it was one of those things that just stretched even more. It stretched me.
Not all of us.
Way more so, and it was cool. I was telling the story in the sermon that Cyrus had an eye surgery appointment on Wednesday morning.
Clogged tear duct, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the week prior to last week, that was when God was like, hey, let's fast for 48 hours. So God specifically said, I feel like he said, fast from Tuesday night to Thursday night. The next day after he said that, the hospital called us and was like, Cyrus's appointment is Wednesday morning. And we had to be at the hospital at 5:30 in the morning. His surgery wasn't until 8. So I'm like, just was told to fast on Wednesday. Next day, I have to be at the hospital at 5:30 in the morning and be there for a day, or be there for like all morning with out eating without, and so I was just sitting there.
Stress too.
Exactly.
Young parent having surgery on their child.
Exactly. And so it just all accumulated to the point of, I think I recognized, yes, the Lord can sustain me, but even more so this time, it was like, here's a part of fasting is, what do you do when you're hungry? Yes, we're told to go pray and supplement it with the Lord, but then I think I recognized even more so as the distracting side of it. Like if I can't fill my stomach with hunger, I'll just distract my mind from it.
Yes.
But the whole purpose of fasting is to be intentionally and painfully aware of your hunger.
Yeah. And a reliance on God in that time.
And so that's what I think I noticed was like, I can fill my hunger by distraction. And then it was just all those questions kept coming in of just like, oh crap, how often do I do this normally? And
let me give you a story that wasn't even done in conjunction with your sermon, but happened on the mission trip. So one of our young men that's 20 got there, and you know, everybody's trying to figure out, am I going to pay for the international plan? Am I going to connect when there's Wi-Fi? You know, it's all this stuff. So he literally decided, I'm going disconnected.
Yes.
So for the whole trip, like, and there were times we're saying to him, you know, you could turn your Wi-Fi and get this picture or whatever. Nope. So the whole trip, he went disconnected. He went to bed, really the first of all of us.
Yeah.
You know, some of us are sitting up till midnight playing Uno and stuff at the mission house. He's out.
Yes.
And it was really phenomenal to see and to hear him talk about what that fast from technology was like. You know, and this is a guy who's doing business. He, like, there were job things he needed to work on. You know, he does business for himself, so he picked up some jobs while he was like people wanting work that he didn't even know till he got back. You know, and there were questions people were having. He's like, I'm not answering, I'm not looking. So he never turned it on, never even carried it.
That's amazing.
And it was so profound. Like by the last few days, I think the rest of us were regretting that we kept service or did the Wi-Fi. You know, and so now on future trips, I'm going to be like, let me tell you about this guy that went in June and how this affected him. You might want to use this as a technology fast time. A, it'll save you money because of the international cost, but B, it was very, very impacting for him totally as far as rest and mental health and stress. I mean, it was phenomenal. You know, it wasn't even done like, oh, well, Spencer's going to preach on fasting, so I'm going to do this. Micah just preached on rest. I'm going to add them together. But it was like the living example of both your sermons.
Yeah. And that's what I like, that they were so back to back. Like they truly do go hand in hand. Like,
yes.
And I dragged Micah down to the Abbey of Gethsemane on Friday.
Oh,
and
sweet.
So we brought a few ticks back with us.
We did bring a few ticks back with us.
Oh, dude. I had like 5.
We went on that walking trails, and I totally forgot how bad it is in the summer. But we partied with the monks for a little bit, hung out.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, for me, it was just another one of those, like, I try and turn off everything when I'm there, but then even more, I sat under a tree in the garden for like 2 hours straight, and it was just great.
I sat in DC, but it was still, you know, once I found the first 2 ticks, I was like, all right, I'm not going outside.
Yeah, I'm done. Ticks are scary, man. They're more like spiders than snakes. But I was going to say, you know, most of the people that we take to Kenya on these trips tell me their anxiety went away for the week.
Yeah.
Their depression went away for the week. And so it's got to be that combo of the rest and the fast, the getting away from all this.
Yeah.
And you just see how much this life, this, you know, treadmill life that we're on in America really is contributing to those things when you get people away from it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big part of what I preached about with rest a couple weeks ago, not to go backwards a week, but because I just preached it again this past Sunday with at
the other church.
And I really I love the phrase that I think it's Willard or Ortberg. There was 2 back-to-back quotes I had, but one of them basically says, I cannot live in the kingdom of God in a busy way. But just, you can't.
That's
like,
a good
you
quote.
can't do both. Comer says oil and water, hurry and love are like oil and water. They just don't mix.
Great
so when you
point.
look at what Jesus' commands are, the 2 greatest commands are love the Lord your God with their heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Everything. He says all the laws and all the prophets' commands, everything, they hinge on these 2 rules, 2 laws. is just love.
Yeah.
And then when you pair that with Comer saying you can't be hurried and love, and then I think about my life when I'm in a hurry, when I'm rushed. This morning, I did not love my family well because I was trying to get out the door.
I know what you mean.
You can't. It's not a rule. It's not a Jesus's command. It's Jesus
a reality.
telling us a reality of the way the world is.
Well, it's an old cliche, but they say, if the devil can't make you bad, it'll make you busy.
Corey Ten Boom.
And and really, when you think about it,
I use that.
Your 2 sermons back to back cover that because the fasting is really perfectly in conjunction with the rest.
Yeah.
So, when you talk about fasting, I keep thinking that verse says, the stomach. We act like the stomach was created for food, like food should be our pleasure.
Yeah,
and it's like no, food just sustains you.
That's right.
So, we've gotten so connected to all this busyness and stuff, and we're looking at the news and the reels and the information all the time. I think most of us, in addition to a food fast, really need a technology fast. I'm more and more 100%. Interested in your phones y'all are looking at for being disconnected.
That was part of how I was ending, was specifically in the terms of we in Western society, really, in our intellect and our knowledge, like I've just been more and more convicted about how educated we are and how that has, and we don't think about it. And you probably go into Kenya and stuff, you get to see that difference, like the total difference of all the stuff we know, the life, the wisdom, the technology, things like that, but how we separate our spiritual and physical lives. And we do, in a sense, act like God's in charge of my spiritual life and I'm in charge of my physical life.
Yes,
and we act as if they're 2 different things.
Yes.
And then going back to what you just said of going back to the greatest commandment of Jesus, he calls us to love the Lord our God with our emotions, mind, body, and spirit, all in one being. And so acting as if they're 2 separate things. But even like what I was saying with like fasting is like, yes, we totally need to fast from technology and other things. But if you stop eating, you will see, and that's what I think was so impactful for me with the technology side, because technology was the thing that I ran to the most. I mean, Wednesday night...
For your distraction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wednesday night, I was so frustrated for like 2 hours that I just played PlayStation. And knowing, like, it was as I'm playing, the Holy Spirit is in my mind just going, you're just distracting yourself, right? And I'm like, I don't care right now. Like, I was just like, shh. But that was the thing. It's just like, who are you when you are depleted?
Yes.
Who are you? And where, like, if you will figure out what you really do run to when you don't eat. Like, when you are depleted, of your necessities, and your stomach's hurting, your mind's not able to focus, you will find out who you are. And that's why fasting is such a good practice, because it's the reminder of, oh, wait, I am a terrible person when I'm super hungry. I'm super annoyed, or I view the lenses, or I do run to this, or I run to this.
I love what you're pointing out, that it helps you see what your go-to.
Yeah. It does.
Because often you don't think, well, maybe I don't think I am distracted as much as I really am by the web or reels or whatever, right? Which we all know I am.
The web.
But I know.
The web.
I know.
The interweb?
That inter thing. Anyways, but the point is, I love that you're pointing out it helps you see what your go-to. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally for some people, even their jogging or walking can be their addiction. Like,
absolutely.
This is the thing that I'm using to cover up.
Yeah.
And it can be a wonderful thing for you, jogging, walking. But there are people that, like, it's become their distraction.
Absolutely.
And yeah. And technology, I'm guilty. It's the technology thing.
Like when you're...
To just sit with quiet and not play a video game or a
100%.
Look at a reel.
Or even get on Amazon.
Yeah.
Like, is shopping the thing that just like, I gotta feel something. And there's so
or look out, man, there's going to be people
news,
coming on that one.
Everything.
I had someone tell me at 8th, and she's like, if I'd have known you were going to step on toes, I would have worn closed-toed shoes today. I was like, that's really good. I had someone here tell me it was a positive, but they said, you went from preaching to meddling.
Oh, I love it.
hilarious.
That's
What a
awesome.
comment.
So I had a
That's
question.
awesome.
When does fasting start? You did Tuesday night to Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
So did you eat dinner Tuesday night?
Yeah, so I ate, and then I did 8 p.m. to 8 p.m.
So you ate before.
So
8
it's a
p.m.?
designated.
Yeah. So you.
So really,
like
if
7.
he ate dinner, he's not really fasting at 8.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So when does it start? Because if
Well,
you
it's
fasted
just-
from dinner, then it was lunch. That's what I was thinking.
Sure.
Yeah, and if you can fall asleep
Yeah.
without the snack, you're really not fasting
Yeah, I mean,
until
I
the next
fast
morning.
I fast like.
See,
8
that's
hours
what
every night.
I usually typically start my fast at night, because it's like I'm starting with, like, you could start in the morning and just go from it, but sleep, like, regardless, you're just not awake for it.
Yeah.
Like, so
Most people.
Sure,
Mark
you can-
is,
yeah.
but I've done mine when I've done them in the morning because I feel like the hardest point of the day is the dinner time, and then I just go to bed after.
yeah.
Like,
I've
it's
usually
good.
started in the morning when I'm doing
But I mean, even too, like, going to bed hungry, like, it's not like necessarily a cop out, but it's like,
Yeah.
what rest practice is that?
Yeah.
Performing?
Well, I mean, when I say early,
Yeah,
I mean like
sure.
10 o'clock.
Right.
That's early for me. Like, it's not midnight. One time I fasted, and the first time I fasted, I realized I was so irritable. I started the day before. It was with student ministry, and I started like my first year. I started the day before at like 6:30, like a Tuesday, and we went to Wednesday night. We had youth group. We were doing like a pizza party, and it was part of like do a 24-hour fast together, and then talk about our experience. We were doing a spiritual discipline series, and so like 3 o'clock on that Wednesday, bro, I was like, if someone walks in my office, I'm punching them in the face. I was just like,
So
I
irritable.
remember, yeah, it was my first one. I remember thinking like if someone looks at me
Yeah.
wrong, they might get slapped. But then like it was probably about 2. So then like 4:30 or 5 though, I felt like it totally shifted. Maybe because mentally I was like, I'm eating in an hour. So, but I remember that like shift in like irritability and anger to like almost peace, like kind of like a coming down off of that like that high of anger or whatever, and just being like, all right, like, you know, this is. It's different, like the hunger pains. It's, well, you know, when they come back, it's
Sure.
it's bad. But I think fasting is so unique. It's such a good way to put yourself into a space of rest. For instance, like your person on the trip, kind of a forced way of like yeah, they could have kept his phone and could have used it occasionally and still kind of had rest. But it was almost like you know what, while I'm at it, let me just fully rest from
fully
it. And
disconnect.
Yeah. Well, that
And I think that's
I
great.
didn't get into it too much, but and I loved how I quoted Tim Mackey from the Bible Project, their video on fasting. He said it is a time of abstaining from eating and drinking and such, but really what it's doing is you're setting aside and dedicating a period of time to make it holy. And I loved that, because going back to Leviticus, where God's like, hey, there are common things and then there are holy things. Like, that's the reality in my world. And God puts a ton of emphasis on, like, why do Aaron's sons get burnt to a crisp? Because they messed around and meddled with things that are holy.
Yeah.
And the Lord is saying there is so much common, like so many things that are part of the world that I created that are good, but there are certain things that are just holy. And one of the things that I was reading as well with that is, in comparison to that, is the rise of common, and Satan's like scheme is to flood out any holiness in our life and just totally surround us with common. And that is the Netflixes, the things that we call normal, you know, going outside and things like that. And the lack of holiness as fasting is like, you're dedicating a time to re-emphasize holy spaces in your life. Like what you're saying is like, I can just totally disconnect, and rightfully so. Like, it is a time to suffer, but it is a time also to like really dedicate to saying like, nobody's going to touch this space.
Yeah.
It is simply the Lord's and the Lord's only.
And if you don't have, if you are like that idea is foreign, or if you're like, I don't really know how to do that, there's actually books on Amazon. They're called The Holy Moments. And I bought you that set, and I have a set of them. And it literally, there's
chopped liver.
Yeah, you're old. No, I'm just kidding. There are 3 volumes.
That part's true.
There are 3 volumes to it, and you can get. I meant to get.
I'm not gonna read that anyway. It's too much.
Well, I meant to get the coffee table size because it's a little bit smaller. but 2 of them I didn't get. They got the full-size ones. But they're not. It's not like a book that you read. It's a reference guide, basically.
Like
and so it literally...
Poems, liturgy.
Yeah, it's a 3 full volumes of all of these, everything mundane you can possibly think of.
Yeah,
washing the dishes,
Yeah.
laundry.
A prayer for mowing the lawn.
Prayer for mowing the lawn. All these things where it's like...
That's like Brother Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally like, it's this idea that, it's based on the sacramental prayer of making something a sacrament.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And for me, it's coffee in the morning. And so just like, instead of trying to like redo something, it's like make something that you do regularly a sacrament. And so everything is holy when the Lord's involved in it. And we're holy because we have the Spirit. And so it just becomes the actual acknowledgement of the Spirit is what makes it holy.
Now, I haven't heard Spencer's sermon. I didn't have the way to watch it since Sunday until this morning, and the truth is I'm still recovering. But so I don't know. I'll have to go back and hear what he said. But the thing about fasting, I think we want you to know too, is there's a real power that comes in your life from fasting. Mm-hmm. You don't do it to gain the power, but there's a real power that comes in your life. I always think about when the disciples can't cast out the demon.
Yeah, he talked
It's
about
an
know what I mean?
aid for
and
spiritual
Jesus
warfare.
says this type only comes out with prayer and fasting, and he doesn't mean you have to run real quick and not eat for a minute and come back.
Hey kids, stay here.
What he means is you have a lifestyle like this, so you have a power that's been developed in you of knowing God and having a deeper level of your prayer.
Yep.
So when we are sitting here talking about fasting, it's not just for us to learn this connection. It really produces a power in your life that we want you to experience. We want you to find an intrigue by that, knowing that deeper connection and maybe deeper consciousness of God by fasting.
Yeah, and it's not just suffering for the sake of suffering.
Yeah.
Because even Jesus says, woe to those who fast just to, what does he say, disfigure their face or something like that. So people
just to
will
be
know,
seen, so people know I'm doing
their
it.
reward is there. That's their reward. Their reward's not in heaven. And so it's not a game or a like showmanship. It's very silent. It doesn't mean like if someone finds out you're not going to hell immediately. It's not like that.
Yeah.
But like the point is to focus on the Lord. And same thing with rest. It's exactly the same way we closed. We said almost like the same thing, which worked really well. That with Sabbath, it is for rest and it is for worshiping and honoring the Lord. That's it. And so what is it that you can do? And I use the example here of like, I can't golf as part of my Sabbath because that's not rest or worship for me. I'm trying to shoot a better
You just
score.
get pissed off.
Yeah.
Now, some people could some people could go and play golf because they don't care about their score. It's just peaceful. It's nature, something to do. That could be, and they could be, every time they hit a shot, they're thanking God for the ability to swing. That's not me. I'm thanking God. I'm maybe getting mad at God for the ability to not swing better. But it's what is it that, and it could be anything. That's the beautiful part about it. And same thing with fasting.
Yeah.
The intention is food.
Yeah.
But you could fast from technology.
Absolutely.
What is your idol? It's fasting from those idols.
I would say if do food and something.
Yeah.
That out of everything I could conclude from, if you fast and say it is a technology fast or a news or say whatever it is, do food with it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Kathy and I, before somewhere around 2016, I was trying to get everything in order, like lose weight, get my life kind of better centered. And we came to the conclusion we were going to drop cable. And the thing we said is we're going to quit watching life and go live life.
Come on.
Right? And we started walking more and exercising more. And it was just overwhelming to us.
Yeah.
How freaky that was to people and how they kept talking about things you could stream, things you could watch. They're like, don't you miss this? What about this news? What about, and it was astonishing when I jumped off the treadmill because I was as bad as anyone. I mean, I could watch TV all day long,
Sure.
But when you jump off of it and you hear other people talk about it, you look back, you're like, oh my gosh, we're like addicted to streaming. Even,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, or sports or whatever it is. It was phenomenal to see that. So I would agree.
Yeah.
Not only do the food, but try something with it.
Yeah. Try something. Absolutely. So I guess the final thing, the thought I think the question that I got was like when do you fast? And I would say specifically is times of big decisions are great times to fast. Because what it does, it clears your mind. In the weirdest way, fasting clears your mind because you are so focused on you're suffering.
Yeah.
And as Paul says, suffering's going to produce perseverance and then character and then hope. So like your suffering is 100% going to
I've got a
make
quick
you
one
suffer,
on that.
but your suffering pushes you to Lord. So times of decision making are
Times of
clear
decision.
head. Mourning, grieving times is also another space to fast, because again, our default setting, right, is fill, distract, void, run away kind of stuff. And then too, just like moments that you feel the Spirit. Like if you're listening right now, like I think I should fast, you need to. You probably need to.
Yes.
If you're feeling it, do it.
I had a buddy that they had a miscarriage, and devastating thing. So the next time that they got pregnant, he started fasting the minute he found out they got pregnant. And so he's like, he dedicated a time every week to fast. Not as if he was like trying to bribe God into making that pregnancy work.
That's a great point. Fasting does not.
He was not trying to bribe
push God to do something.
But it was kind of like, and unfortunately, in America, even pregnancy can be taken for granted.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that women are all stressed, but
sure,
you know, it was like, I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to fast during this pregnancy. I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray devoutly. And, you know, fasted all through the next pregnancy. Things worked out wonderfully.
Wow.
And again, he's never said, you know, like, God paid me off. This was a deal. It was just for him to be so focused and intentional on the ultimate need is God. It's, you know, more than the doctors, more than science. This is a miracle of God, and I want to focus on God. And it turned out to be one of the, like you're talking about, one of those big times of your life. And he'll still testify about it to this day, about what it was like to fast through that and how beneficial to him.
Oh, it's incredibly so. Go out,
But don't
refrain, go suffer, and we'll see you back coming this week talking about, is it marriage or family this
Giving.
week? Giving. Oh,
Giving.
yeah, it is. Let's go. We'll see you then. Micah.
Oh, you're loved. There's nothing you can do about it.
Bye.
Bye.